So, welcome to another article from the Christian Rethink website. This one is entitled "Science Proves That There Is No God? Incorrect." It's a widely held belief in the UK that science has proved that God doesn't exist. This is a total fallacy. So, here's the reality. First, evolution disproves God. This is wrong in two respects. First, a scientific theory is not evidence. Only evidence is evidence. In any case, evolution is full of fatal flaws. Go onto the website Christian Rethink, you'll see many of them detailed there. Second, even if evolution were true, it is possible that God used it in his creation. Many Christians believe that, albeit incorrectly. Nothing here disproves God. Second, the universe is vast and has existed for billions of years. Neither of these contentions, correct or otherwise, has any relevance to proof for or against God. 3. God has never been observed in a scientific experiment. The relevant maxim here is, lack of evidence is not evidence of a lack. Simply, just because we cannot observe something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. In science, many things are unseen but accepted because of evidence of what they do. For example, nobody has ever seen an electron. Their existence is inferred from the behaviour of atoms and matter. In any case, if there is an almighty God, he would presumably choose himself when, where and how he reveals himself. 4. If a good God exists, why do bad things happen, people ask. This is a philosophical religious question, nothing to do with science. Again, on the Christian Rethink website, there's more on that. 5. Science simply doesn't believe in God. That's correct, but the reason is what's called an a priori assumption. Science makes an a priori assumption that God does not exist. An a priori assumption is something that you think you know or assume to be true without any research or experience. Check out the Wikipedia article on a priori. It is most important to realise that this is a prior assumption of science with zero evidence. 6. The idea of God is not rational, people say. That statement is merely an assertion. It is not evidence. 7. I don't believe in God. People believe or do not believe whatever they want. None of it constitutes scientific evidence. 8. Scientists don't believe in God. This is very far from the truth, and even if it were true, it would only be a matter of belief, not evidence. Scientists, like everyone else, have other agendas. Professor Richard Dawkins, for example, has a visceral hatred of the God of the Bible, which he proudly proclaims. That is not science. And Dawkins never produces profound scientific evidence for his assertions. 9. People in the past thought the earth was flat. This is really an assertion that people in the past were stupid, and the idea of God arose from their stupidity. Actually, the Greek Eratosthenes not only knew the earth was a sphere, but calculated its circumference with remarkable accuracy over 200 years before Christ. It's true that people in the past had less knowledge than we have today, but they were no less intelligent. The pyramids, for example, were not built by idiots. People in the past achieved remarkable things with limited technology, demonstrating just how capable they were. However, appeals to past ignorance can sometimes be valid. For example, Darwin's theory was based in part on his total ignorance of both the complexity of the living cell and genetics. Appeals to ignorance must always be justified specifically, as in this case. This article is not dealing with the evidence that God does exist. Its purpose is to clear the air of the gross misconception that science somehow proves he doesn't. If you are still not clear on this and you imagine that there really is scientific evidence disproving God, please state it below. We will add your statement to this article anonymously, together with a clear explanation of why it is not scientific evidence. So, and there was only one submission to this article, somebody wrote in and said, evolution of the horse. So let's deal with that. There is a huge amount of information or disinformation on the internet and elsewhere about the supposed evolution of the horse over 55 million years. There's an evolutionist by the name of Boyce Rensberger, note an evolutionist, not a creationist, and a statement from him hits the nail on the head. Rensberger says, the popularly told example of horse evolution, suggesting a gradual sequence of changes from four-toed, fox-sized creatures living nearly 50 million years ago to today's much larger one-toed horse, has long been known to be wrong. Instead of gradual change, fossils of each intermediate species appear fully distinct, persist unchanged, and then become extinct. Transitional forms are unknown. As with all gradual alleged evolution, the essential transitional fossils are missing. The alleged transitional fossils are actually distinct species which themselves lack evidence of their own evolution. It must be remembered that Darwin's theory involves inorganic molecules gradually changing into men. Fuzzy stories about one four-legged mammal turning into another four-legged mammal are very definitely not profound evidence for the first of these propositions. But such invalid evidence is regularly presented as the best there is. The huge amount of information on the web regarding horse evolution makes it clear that it is of great importance in proving evolution. Normally, nobody would put forward a weak or flawed evidence in hopes of winning a debate. Evolutionists do it in this case because there is no better evidence. And if the alleged horse evolution is as good as it gets, evolution has around 4 less legs to stand on than the horse. A further point is that many of the alleged evolutionary trees, at least in part, show one kind of horse evolving into another. This is simply variation within a kind, not Darwinian, one thing changes into something completely different. So, there you go. More on this on christianrethink.co.uk. Thanks for watching and listening.